Sharp new warning of all-out war. For the first time, the mysterious and secretive nation has threatened a preemptive nuclear strike against the U.S.
President Trump and Kim Jong-un trading threats of military action, each more severe than the last. After the president warned the U.S. was locked and loaded, North Korea responded with a threat of its own, promising tragic doom to America.
I hate to say it, but I think the possibility of a nuclear weapon being used today is higher than it has been since the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Dramatic new video showing a North Korean soldier defecting to South Korea. You see him first driving and then running for his life as bullets fly. He was hit but made it across the border alive.
Clear from the video, this was a desperate dash to freedom.
North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
This is the 38th parallel. This line separates North Korea from South Korea. This is the only spot in the world where North Korean soldiers and South Korean soldiers can stand side by side. But only one side is worried about defectors. In other words, they are worried about their own soldiers running to South Korea to flee their country. Recently, one soldier successfully defected to South Korea only after suffering many bullet wounds from his comrades who he was standing next to moments earlier. Moments later, he was rescued by two South Korean soldiers. Then he was airlifted to a hospital, and they later found out he had parasites, showing that North Korea is a very harsh environment to live in. The parasites living inside of this North Korean defector's torso were up to 10 inches long. North Korean soldiers are treated better than North Korean civilians, but still, they are treated very poorly. What is really surprising about this defection is that this North Korean soldier defected to South Korea instead of China. Most defectors go to China because it is easier. But if they are found in China, they are deported back to North Korea. But not all countries feel that way about defectors, such as South Korea. They accept all defectors and help them start a new life outside of the poverty-stricken country of North Korea. The Korean War started on June 25, 1950. This conflict started as a civil war between North Korea and South Korea, but gradually it became an international conflict involving China, the USSR, and the US. Before and during World War II, Korea was under rule by Japan, but after the war was over, Korea was divided into two parts. The Soviet Union occupied the area north of the 38th parallel, while the United States occupied the area south of the 38th parallel. Two countries were established in 1948, the Republic of Korea, or South Korea, and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea. On June 25, 1950, the Supreme Leader Kim Il-sung wanted to unite the two Koreas using force, so he decided to invade the South and completely eliminate the South Korean army to unite the two Koreas. By the time the U.S. got involved in the war, the North Korean forces have pushed the South back to Busan, but Douglas MacArthur decided to attack via amphibious landing. This was known as the Incheon Landing. The Incheon Landing was an amphibious landing where thousands of troops landed in Incheon and caught the North by surprise. When UN and South Korean forces reached the 38th parallel, the UN gave General Douglas MacArthur permission to invade North Korea. But when Douglas MacArthur had almost eliminated the North Korean army, hundreds of thousands of Chinese soldiers had reached the battle almost undetected and pushed the South Koreans back to the Chongchen River. Once at the Chongchen River, the Chinese set up defenses and anticipated a counterattack. The counterattack came and ended in failure for the South Koreans and the Americans. In April 1951, General Douglas MacArthur was fired by President Truman and replaced by General Matthew Ridgway. This was because he had threatened to use nuclear weapons and also escalated the war. 3 years and 7 million casualties later, the Korean War ended, and the borders of the two countries were the same as it was when it started.
The cost of freedom is high, but we are determined to preserve our freedom no matter what the cost.
During the Korean War, the U.S. dropped 635,000 tons of explosives on North Korea, including 32,000 tons of napalm. To put this into perspective, throughout the entire Pacific theater in World War II, the United States only dropped 500,000 tons of bombs, and that was throughout an area that was multitudes larger than North Korea. The Korean War ended with an armistice. This was known as the Korean War Armistice. The Korean War Armistice was not a peace treaty. It was a ceasefire, so technically the two countries are still at war. This is one of the many reasons why the tensions between North Korea and South Korea are so high right now. One of the biggest impacts of the Korean War is that it has raised tensions between the US and North Korea by 1,000-fold. North Korea has made atomic bombs and has threatened to use them. The tensions between North Korea and the US are so bad that North Korea has been digging invasion tunnels into South Korea and has been preparing for an attack. The South Korean Defense Ministry is still looking for tunnels. Only 4 have been found, but there could be as many as 20.
South Korea have endured an uneasy truce. A narrow demilitarized zone divides the two nations, which are technically speaking still at war. For years, leaders in Seoul have known about tunnels dug by the North into South Korea. But now one retired general says those passages may extend much further than previously thought. Paula Hancock's has more.
Some other impacts of the Korean War was that it had split families due to their beliefs, either communism or non-communism thoughts. Today, South Korea has become a major economic power, while North Korea is still a poverty-stricken, heavily militarized nation. Also, the Korean War has raised tensions between the US and China, which will last for decades. One of the reasons why America decided to join the war was because they did not want other countries to act as North Korea did. They want to stop the spread of communism, and if they thought they didn't intervene, other communist nations would start conquering other nations close to them. This war also demonstrated that the US would do almost anything to prevent the spread of communism. Some of the challenges North Koreans have to face every day are that they are not allowed to drive, leave the country, use the internet, and wear jeans because it is part of the Western culture. One thing that they can do is watch television, but it is strictly propaganda. Here is an example of what they can watch on TV. In this video, it shows a North Korean dreaming about New York being destroyed, but the footage of New York being destroyed was taken from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Keep in mind that this video is targeted towards North Koreans, so this is a very effective form of propaganda. These North Koreans do not know what Call of Duty is. The tensions between the US and North Korea are very high, and if war were to break out, the North Korean army would launch thousands of missiles at Seoul, causing many casualties within the first week. The North Koreans only have enough fuel, food, and supplies for their army to last them only a couple months. When the Kim regime started to fall, Kim Jong-un would have no reason not to use nuclear weapons. And if his nuclear missiles were not shot down or disabled before they reached American soil, they would cause hundreds of thousands to die, and even more after from the nuclear fallout it would cause.
A triumphant North Korea says its latest ballistic missile test demonstrates that it now has the capability to strike anywhere in the United States. An announcement on state television said Pyongyang had achieved its mission of becoming a nuclear state.
As you can see, historical evidence shows that North Korea is a major threat not only to South Korea but to America too. It has become a nuclear power and needs to be dealt with.